all these people, they wanted their children to be on TV. They were not interested in mathematics at all. But as I could see that if the problem was kind of interesting, that, for example, that we made this thing that even a cow can make a circle. What did you do? You put in the field, put in a bowl in the center, and then the cow is eating, and it cannot go further than the length of the rope. Even these children who just wanted to be actors, they enjoyed it very much.
Hello, and thank you for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, subscribing is the best way to support us. It helps us grow and bring you new stories from life in Japan. All right, let's jump in. Let's do this.
Great.
Welcome to Unpacking Japan. I'm Toby, and today I have the pleasure to welcome Peter Frankl. Thank you so much for coming to see us in the studio.
Yeah, it's my pleasure being here.
You're a mathematician,
Exactly.
Originally from Hungary.
Yes.
You've been in Japan since 1988, where you've been teaching mathematics, but also been very popular on TV shows on NHK, broadcasting your passion for mathematics and a lot of street performance too in the process. So I'm sure you have many fascinating stories to share with us.
Probably too many.
Probably too many.
For such a short program.
We have plenty of time. We can make it longer. Maybe we start with your stories a little bit at the beginning and what brought you here in the first place?
Well, you know, when you said that I am living in Japan since 1988, that's correct. But I first came to Japan in 1982.
Okay.
And we have to go back a little bit. I was born in Hungary, and those days it was not a very good country, let's say. It was a so-called socialist country, but most of all I felt somehow not at home because I couldn't travel. It was very difficult to go abroad, visit other countries, especially in the West. So I decided that I want to have my own free life. We only live once.
You only live once, yes.
So I emigrated to France, and I got a very good job, which doesn't mean that I earned a lot of money. No, I earned very little. That was my choice, but that was a completely free job. It was a job that I had to do research. The French National Research Institute, CNRS.
Oh, okay.
It's normally it is for life, and you do whatever you want. You only have to do some research, and every year show that you have done this and this and this, and that, and they don't bother you. And you are basically free to go anywhere. And so I thought it would be perfect for me to travel around. Mathematics is basically the same, no matter on which continent you are, no matter which religion you have, no matter which race you belong to. Mathematics is all the same, and it's open to all. So it was a good thing for traveling. And so I visited a few countries, and just it happened that sometimes some Japanese mathematician from the University of Tokyo asked me that, would you like to come to Japan? And I said, if you send me an invitation letter, I will go. And he did send me an invitation letter, and I applied for it, and that's how it happened that on the 1st of September 1st, 1982, I landed in Japan without too much knowledge about Japan. Probably much less than most of the people who are listening to us, because those people, they know, usually the young people, they know Japanese anime a lot. And those days, Japanese anime was not that popular. It was probably popular, but not, I mean, you can't compare. I mean,
not as big as now, no, for sure.
Yeah, it was not a big deal. In Paris, I went a few times to see Japanese movie festivals. I like Kurosawa Akira or Oshima Nagisa, and so some of these old people, and it was great. But I didn't know much about Japan, and I knew that I'm going to come to Japan, so about 6 weeks, I was studying Japanese for about 6 weeks on my own, just to learn a few phrases and so on. And that's how I arrived to Japan. And originally, I was supposed to stay 2 months. I made it after all 3 because I liked the place. And that's what made, say, my Japanese connection. And then I tried to come back to Japan kind of once in every 2 years for another 2 months or 3 months. And eventually I got a scholarship for 2 years, come to Japan to do research for 2 years. And that's what happened in 1988.
So 1st of September 1982 is the first time you arrive in Japan without too much prior knowledge. You studied a little bit the language before coming, but it was interesting and fascinating enough for you that you even extended that first stay. What was that first experience like for you when you arrived here in the early 80s in Japan?
Yeah. You just can't imagine. I mean, there were so few foreigners in Japan those days.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend who is a little bit older than me. He's from Belgium. And he came to Japan maybe in 1980. And he was in Osaka.
Oh.
And he says that there were so few foreigners that even the foreign baseball players from Hanshin Tigers, they were inviting him to parties.
Wow.
Because they wanted to have an occasion where they can speak English and have fun with other foreigners. Well, in 1982, and it was in Tokyo, so there were more foreigners, but definitely you can't compare. It is, you were walking on the street, and if you see another foreigner, they would cross over to your side of the street and say hello and ask you and share some experience, because, you are in a foreign country and most of these people didn't understand the language and didn't know what to do and where to find something. And so it was always to get information from each other. Now, if you would like to greet every foreigner, it's impossible.
Too many. And you can make the difference between the people that are just traveling here and the people that are living here.
But fortunately, Japanese people didn't change too much in that respect. I mean, even now, Japanese people, that's what I hear from other foreigners, they are very, very friendly. They still would like, if you tell them that you want to come to this L Tower, but which way is it, and so on. And since their English didn't improve so much either, so they would take you until they can show, that's gate, that's where you go in. So it's, and I was really moved by the friendliness of Japanese people. I never had that before, kind of, in no other country. And I remember that I was at the University of Tokyo and I had to get off at Nezu Station in Tokyo. But as you know, there are many exits usually.
Yeah.
And if you go out another exit, then you are in a completely different place and you have no clue.
And it's a long journey back to where you need to be.
Yeah, usually you don't want to go just back down and also you have to buy a new ticket to get out from the other side. So you would rather try and find your way. And I remember it was a rainy day and early morning, and there was a Japanese so-called salaryman, and I asked him that, sorry, I want to go to University of Tokyo. And I only needed the instruction that it's this way or this way. But he said that it's a foreigner and if he gets lost, it will be very difficult for him. So he took me to the gate of the university. I told him in the middle, okay, I now understand. No, to make sure. And he took me to the gate. And what touched me, that once I told him, arigato gozaimashita, then he said, bowed and turned around and he was running like crazy, He closed his umbrella, not to get late at his work. But with all that, he took me because he saw that as a Japanese person, he has to be nice to foreign guests. And so he really, and that was not an only experiment, it was many people who were really friendly.
They left a mark on you, made you come back again and again.
Yes.
So in 88, you decide to leave that position that you had at the CNRS in France, which was...
Well, I had it for, it was just 2 years. For 2 years, I was legally here, meaning that I was getting my salary in France.
Oh, okay.
And I get some stipend here in Japan. So for 2 years, it was completely in limbo. So if I want to go back, I go back. If not, I don't. And for maybe another year or so, I told them that I might go back sometime. So I got some unpaid leave, And but that was the time when I somehow decided that it's life was so much more interesting for me in Japan than it was in France, that I saw that I would try my chance.
So you came here as a researcher at university, and you mentioned earlier mathematics is international. It doesn't really have any boundaries. What made it more interesting for you to do the research here in Japan as opposed to, for example, France or somewhere else?
No, the research itself, it was really not more interesting in Japan. It was one thing which was happening these days is that I have to tell just one word, that my field in mathematics is called combinatorics, which is, in a sense, it's somewhat closer to elementary mathematics, somewhat closer to mathematics you learn in school than some of the, say, algebraic geometry and some of the other fields in analytic number theory. They are much, much harder to explain to ordinary people. So, but those other branches were much more developed in Japan than combinatorics. Combinatorics was very much underdeveloped.
Okay.
And I saw that I would like to contribute to getting my field, which I like to do, I understand much better. And I wanted this to make popular in Japan. And the way I wanted to do it was to make Japan participate in the mathematical Olympiad.
Oh.
That was one of the very few things which was good in the Eastern Bloc. That in 1959. In 1959, they created this international competition called International Mathematical Olympiad.
The IMO.
Yes, IMO for short. And at the beginning, there were only Eastern countries participating. When I say Eastern, it is the Soviet Union and Romania, Hungary, the GDR, and Poland, and the Eastern Bloc countries. But it's gradually it got more and more. But even in 1990, that was the first year when we succeeded. That was the first year that Japan participated in this IMO.
So 1990 is the first year Japan participated, but you actually won that competition when you were 18, right?
Yes. And 18 shouldn't surprise you because this is for high school students. So 18 is the age limit.
Oh.
So I was one of the oldest, who was just graduating from high school. But this is for high school students, and so this competition was very good for, like all competitions are good for making young people realize what kind of talent they have. If there were no competition, you wouldn't know that you are good in soccer. You wouldn't know that you are good at swimming. You just swim and swim and swim and you like it. But unless there's a competition, you can't tell that you are swimming faster than all people in your country. So competition is basically good for that purpose too, not just for your health, that you do movements and so on and exercise your brain. So it definitely was that way for me too. My parents were doctors and they were dreaming of their son becoming a doctor, and they didn't even think of it as a dream. They thought this is reality. And I really revered my parents, so I wanted to be a doctor too. But then there were some local competitions at several stages and levels, and I won some prizes, and slowly I started to understand that maybe mathematics is closer to my heart. And that's when I got this gold medal at the Mathematical Olympiad. Then I really decided that I will go to the university and study mathematics. And this gold medal was kind of one of the things which made my parents agree.
Oh.
So they decided that, well, to be an average doctor, of course, usually you don't have problems. You have what to eat or where to sleep. So it's a normal, good life. But since he's talented in mathematics, so maybe it is it makes more sense to be a world famous mathematician than just a doctor in a small city.
What fascinated you so much with mathematics that you kind of not only got good at it, but you must have some kind of passion, something in the field makes you want to kind of continuously study, because even today you're still writing papers, you're still researching, you're still practicing.
Well, I guess it didn't change so much throughout the years. The main thing is that in mathematics there is something called proof.
Mm-hmm.
So if you make a statement, like I say that Osaka is beautiful, or I don't know, Kyoto is exciting, or sushi is great. These are all personal feelings, and some people might feel in another way. But in mathematics, if you feel something, you can actually prove it or disprove it. But in any case, once there is a proof or disproof, then you know that this is true for sure or this is not true for sure. And this is very different even from physics.
Okay.
And if you go so far as, say, biology or psychology, and all these things, I mean, you look around and they have changed completely throughout the years, and probably they will change in the future too. But in mathematics, even things which Greek mathematicians 2,000 years ago proved, that everyone still accepts it because there is a proof.
So mathematics is kind of the foundation of all sciences in a way.
Not just the foundation, but it's of course it's a foundation for physics, theoretical physics especially, and also to some extent chemistry. So it's used in all sciences. But the main thing is that it's, for us mathematicians, it kind of exists independent of anything. We do believe that if they are ET, I mean, and they are really good at thinking, and they did something like mathematics, then they would have the same theorems.
Oh.
Because these things, they are just mathematical proofs. And so they are true or not true. They are good or not good. So you can tell it. And in a world which is changing and there are wars and all kinds of conflicts, it is so nice to have something which is stable. And once you prove something, then it will be like that. Maybe people won't remember it 1,000 years from now, but it definitely will be the same truth.
Is there one theorem that kind of particularly stuck with you when you were growing up and you kind of realized, oh, this has been proven, this is kind of what ignited this passion for you, that you kind of still think back of this rule of mathematics?
Well, I don't think I understood it to such so strongly, because you did believe in any others. I mean, I did believe, even to some extent, I believed in communism. Not that I was ever a member of the Communist Party or did anything, but I did believe, because that's what we learned in history, that this is the development of the human people, that it was capitalism, and then later it will be communism, and the workers will have not just the right to vote, but rule the country and get the profit. And so everything seemed to be okay. But once you started to travel, go to some other countries, meet people from other continents, and you started seeing that it's in other things are not so easy. It's hard to decide. So who is right? Who is wrong? What is the future? And you think about, when I was just an elementary school, I guess that's when I more or less entered elementary school. That's when they discovered DNA, which is now, of course, very important, and people didn't even know it. And there were many theories, and you could read these theories, and they were very plausible. But then 10 years later, there was some other thing, which is completely the opposite. And then another 10 years, it changed again. So it's a chaos. So mathematics remains
a constant.
It's a in a sense, in a constant.
So that passion is something that when you came to Japan, you wanted to ignite as well with the Japanese students, and you kind of had this idea of, if we get them to participate in the IMO, this mathematics competition, maybe more people will be drawn to mathematics and also interested in your particular field.
Yeah. To say it from another angle, I really felt that in many ways, Japanese people were kind of like mathematicians. That's how I felt.
Okay.
I mean, before coming to Japan, obviously, I got my PhD. I was doing already mathematics for 10 years, and including my student years. So I had some idea what mathematicians are. And Japanese people were, in many sense, like mathematicians. So, and what kind of things? First of all, there was, which, if I say what made me happy, was Japanese people's reactions to mathematicians.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I told someone in the United States that I'm a mathematician, then, okay, how much do you make? And I didn't make too much, so I didn't get much respect. It was not even considered to be a professional. You know the word professional? I mean, doctors or lawyers, they are professionals. But mathematicians, they are not. Even university professors is not considered a professional. But it's, for me, that was the only job I was thinking of. So it was not too much respect. And in my home country, in Hungary, it was worse. When I got to university, I left my hometown, which was a small shithole. How should I call it? I mean, it's a small town of 50,000 people. And there was only one train line going to Budapest, to the capital. And there were only 3 trains in a day.
Okay.
So when you got on that train, that was kind of full. And many people going to my hometown. So many people would know me because they knew my father and mother, who were famous doctors in that small city. And so they would ask me, Peter, are you a student now? Yes, I'm a student. Which university? I tell the name of the university because that was the best in Hungary. So, And what do you study? I'm studying mathematics. Yeah. Why? Your father and mother, they're both doctors. Why don't you become a doctor? Or you should become a lawyer at least. And I felt really humiliated somehow. It is not because I was stupid that I didn't study law or medicine. That was because I liked mathematics. But that was kind of not okay for them. It is so that if you are clever, then you should become a lawyer. These days, you should become an investment banker.
Probably
or maybe someone
engineer, tech. Yeah.
Or just buy and sell stocks and live with that without too much sweat.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was horrible. And what was even more horrible is that if I met young girls, I mean, young means my age, and I tried to talk to them, and they would ask me always the same question. And I would say that I'm a mathematician or a mathematics student, and said, "Oh no, I hate mathematics. What, you like to multiply numbers?" That was very bad reception. But then I came to Japan, and Japanese people, I tell them I'm a mathematician. They told me that, wow, you must be clever then. And one of the reasons, and I don't know whether you had so much contact with the Japanese educational system, but in Japan, with all the national universities, like Osaka University, Kyoto University, Tokyo University, in the entrance examination, you have to take this common test. Kyotsu Ichiji Shiken or something like that. Kyotsu Shiken, or it's changed names. It was called Senta Shiken for something.
Okay.
So. But anyways, there is mathematics in it. And mathematics has a big weight. So even if you want to become a doctor, or you want to become a lawyer, or even you just want to study German literature at Osaka University, you have to take this test in mathematics.
Otherwise, you can't go in.
So otherwise, you have to go to some private university where they don't have tests in mathematics. So therefore, most young people who are somewhat competitive and want to go to some national university, which is costing much less money and is more respected at the same time, then you have to study mathematics quite hard. So the entrance examination in mathematics is making people study mathematics more seriously.
At least to a certain level, a solid high school level.
Yes. And therefore, they know that those people who are not good at mathematics, they still have some respect for people who are good at mathematics, because they know that I had to work so hard, and that guy, he just solved the problem. So I was envying him.
And that kind of leads to a general appreciation and respect for mathematics, and for you to suddenly be in a field where people kind of look up to you and not look down to you like it was.
Yeah, exactly. So I told them I'm a mathematician, and people were, good. And so they had some respect, and they become friendly. But it's not that that's not the only thing. Those days, Japan was really slowly becoming the factory of the world. Not to the extent of China today, but in that direction, definitely. And this was supported by Japanese people who were turning every screw and then double checking whether it was turned in the right way. And that way of working, to me, it's similar to mathematical work, In mathematics, you make a computation, then you still want to check it, that maybe you made some mistake in the addition or subtraction. And and it's really in Japanese people working in that way. So that was, I felt that their way of working is pretty much like how mathematicians work. It's not like, it's okay, it must be good. And then just smoke a cigarette and do the next. So it's like people in Hungary would do it. I know Germans, they also were very good at working.
They're also quite strict with their procedures,
Yeah, but it's maybe it has some common origin also, this so-called Tampeki Shugisha, to aiming for perfectness. In the German society, it was for all this, what do you call it, these things, like in Hanseat word, that you have this you become, there is a Meister.
Yes.
And then you are a
apprentice,
and then you have to be accepted by as a new Meister. You have to do everything very, very carefully, and to the last nail you have to.
This is also, I think, slowly disappearing a little bit in Germany. Not enough apprentices to take over.
Yeah, and but those days when I came to Japan, of course, in Japan it was absolutely that way. And what I enjoyed most was that sometimes, and it happened really few dozen times, that people whom I met on the Shinkansen, or I met in a park, and I told them I'm a mathematician, and they were discussing for 5 minutes, and they would tell me, can you solve this problem? So they had some problem which they remembered from high school times.
And it kind of still chases after them. It's like, I haven't solved this in high school. Maybe now is my chance to get it right.
Maybe they didn't understand the solution, or just they wanted to test me, that because they couldn't solve it, but the teacher told me the solution. So they asked me some problems, and it was fun for me. I was thinking of it. Some were difficult, some were less difficult, and it didn't happen to me in other countries, I must say.
So all in all, that kind of created the perfect environment for you. And you mentioned this 2-year exchange at Tokyo University, but then you kind of had to make a decision, and it became pretty clear you wanted to stay here and continue in Japan.
Yeah, I basically, during these 2 years, I started writing a book about my life. That was, I didn't even dream that it will sell. Maybe I sold altogether 50, 60,000 copies,
Wow.
which is a lot. It was a lot for me. I didn't think it will sell so many copies, but I thought that it would be just so much easier for me, for my life, because I kept meeting people. Not like these days. It is, there are so many foreigners. No one is so much surprising a foreigner from Mid-Osuji. So it's, those days you sit on a Shinkansen, and I was always sitting in the free car. I mean, with no
Jiyuseki,
yes, without seat reservation. And then definitely, if seat is free, then someone would come and, may I sit next to you? And they would ask me that, where did you come from and what do you in Japan and so on. So they wanted to get acquainted and spend time together. So, and all these people were asking me the same question, in a sense like you do, Toby.
Yeah.
So it's normal. If you meet a new person, if you want to be friends, you would like to know who your friend is.
You get curious.
Yeah. So I saw that if I write a book, I can just tell
give the
them,
book.
okay, read this book.
2 hours on the Shinkansen, please read the book.
Just read it, and then you can give it back to me. And if you want to buy it, I can sell it to you. Or if we are really good friends, I can, of course, give it as a present. But that was kind of what I was thinking of. And I wrote a book. And I still remember the publisher, it was published in the beginning of 1992 after all, because it took some time for the writing. But the publisher told me that, so now your book will be out in about 2 weeks. I want you really to think it over. Do you really want to publish it? Of course, I'm sure that he knew that I would not say no at that point, because he also put in a lot of work making the corrections and everything. And why? I asked him. I mean, if your book is out, your life will change. That's what he told me. And I think so. Yeah, you will see. And I didn't know how it will actually change. But I saw that I can always leave Japan. So if there is a change, and this change is not in the good direction, I don't feel it is in a good direction, I can still pack up my things and go back to Europe. I was still in my 30s. I could get a job in the United States at some decent university. So I can always escape. So
That's what you were thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And then I saw that, well, let's see what happens. And it definitely changed, because once this book was out, I got so many interviews from newspapers, and that's why actually my book was sold well. There were TV programs that I could present my book and speak about other things, of course. And then the publishers came and wanted me to write some other book. And
I think since then you've written 33 books in total.
I don't know. I didn't count, but unfortunately, I think the first book was still, in a sense, the best, because that was about my life. So that is closest to my heart. It is already out of print. You can get in libraries, of course. But yeah, so it definitely changed my life. It made me a public person, if you want. So it's
what changed after that? It's now the early 90s, and you're a public figure in Japan. You decided to stay here. You're working at university. You kind of helped the Japanese team to go to the Olympiads. You published the book, and you appeared on TVs and newspapers interviews. On what new trajectory has this kind of put your life?
Well, I'm a mathematician. So what does it mean? It means that if people ask my opinion about something, I really want to give an opinion, a detailed opinion, which is based on facts.
You want to go to the proof, to the evidence.
Yes. And that's not, very often this is not what they want you to do. They just want to especially in this, during the daytime, you look at these shows on TV, they just, you have to say, wow, it tastes wonderful, or it looks good, or, oh, I don't like it. Or, so they want more emotions, not so much intellectual quality. But since I'm a mathematician, I believe that I can kind of deliver some expert opinion and it will be appreciated, which was definitely not always the case, or it was rarely the case, I would rather say. But that was still I wanted. So I was studying a lot, I guess. It's in all kind of things, reading many books about Japan, Japanese history, literature, or the Japanese language, studying even more Japanese kanjis. And that was also one of the things which made me stay in Japan, actually. That was one other thing which, even to this day, I feel is the same. That Japanese people do appreciate if you are good at the Japanese language.
They do.
I went to France and I could speak French better than my English now. I had spent a few months in Germany, in Hamburg, actually, and my German was better than my English now.
We spoke German just before we started as well.
Yeah, I mean, as a young boy, I was studying and learned by heart lots of poems by Goethe or the Balladen from Schiller and so on. And so I studied German really pretty well. But they took it for granted. I mean, first of all, they look at my face. I mean, there are some Germans who have kind of dark brown hair. In France, even more. So, and it's normal that you speak French, or even can tell by that you are not from France originally. But it's not that they would be so much appreciating it. And in the United States or in England, it was absolutely, they took it for granted that you can speak English. I don't think it ever happened to me that someone in either of these places ever told me that, oh, your English is very good. And in Japan, I came to Japan, I studied 6 weeks, and I only could say that, arigato gozaimasu, naruhodo, a few words like that, and, oh, nihongo dekiru. It's great, this guy can speak Japanese, and he can read Osaka.
And they appreciate it.
So they appreciate it. And that made me study more, because, I mean, it always feels good if you are appreciated. So that reinforces your feeling for studying more. And so definitely I was studying more and more Japanese, and I enjoyed it. I believe that every science is interesting. And the deeper you get into it, the more interesting it gets. So I could have become, I think I was born to be a scientist because I like to dig deep, and understand and try to make some connections. And that's what scientists do. But in every field, they do the same. And so I thought it's interesting and it's worth doing it, because people will ask me and they would like to know my opinion. But that's where the problem comes, that it's mathematics, they are proofs. Therefore, what you did, you can prove it, and then people will accept it, even if they might not like you or not like the way your mathematical paper is written, but they still would appreciate the statement itself if it's proved. But when it comes to social sciences, then it's lots of other things are involved, and much more emotion is involved. So it's just very difficult to convince people.
You said that you like to kind of keep digging deeper, understanding, and mathematics can get very complex.
Yeah.
But you also said earlier that you want to get more people interested. And actually, I think one of the big things you've done in Japan is you had your own show on NHK where you made mathematics accessible and interesting also for children.
That was a show for children. So that's
how did that come about, and how did you approach this?
Well, like most of the things, and I hate to say it, and in a sense I'm ashamed of it, that it's most of these things, some director came up to me and said that, wouldn't you like to do such a program? So there was some person at NHK who saw that, well, we had until now some program on this NHK educational, but it was not watched by many people, and it was not too interesting, and just people writing on the blackboard. So couldn't we have some more interesting program? And so he came to me and asked me whether I would like to collaborate, and I would like to be on this program and help with making the content. And it sounded interesting, so I agreed. And he was a very clever guy, and not that he was very good at mathematics, but he had very good at images and thinking that this can be shown on TV and this will have a good effect. And those were the days when they started to have this, I forgot the word, but it's, when you can put the background.
Oh, like on the green screen and kind of change a little bit.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you don't wear anything blue or something, and then all these things will be on blue, and then you are in the studio, but it looks like that you are swimming in the ocean. So it is, and he was very good at this visual effects. There were new things, and he learned it, and so he thought it would be good for mathematics, and it was fun.
I feel like nowadays, but even like when I was in school, it's very difficult to make children interested in mathematics because it gets maybe difficult. And also, I think one of the most questions, the most asked questions that every student had in my class was, when are we ever going to use this? Like, why do we need to learn and study this?
Yeah.
So when you're on this show like this and you're trying to make this interesting for children and more generally speaking, for students that want to pursue this, how do you approach this? How do you get students interested? And did you see maybe some differences with how Japanese students kind of approach the subject?
Well, I must say that in this program there were some students. And the students, who were the students? The students, by now they are adults and I don't even know where they are, but I know that because they came with their parents. I mean, they were elementary school, first grade, second grade, so 1 to 6. There were students from each. And each of them was coming with their mother usually to the studio, and the mother was waiting outside. And the mother, I could talk to the mother, and so I understood that all these people, they came through some agency. They wanted their children to be on TV. If possible, they wanted to be an actor, maybe in the future become some famous person and so on.
But maybe not mathematics.
So they were not interested in mathematics at all. But as I could see that if the problem was kind of interesting, that I remember, for example, that we made this thing that that was about a circle, that even a cow can make a circle, and then what did you do? You put in the field where there is a lot of grass, and you put in a pole in the center, and make the cow just, a rope, bind it to this. And then the cow is eating, and it cannot go further than the length of the rope. So after a certain time, it ends up that there's a perfect circle. This cow has eaten all the grass inside the circle. And that you can explain that's what a circle is, that you have a center, and then there is this radius, and then it's all around the same distance, and that's a circle. And definitely even these children who just wanted to be actors, they enjoyed it very much, looking at the cow, and will it be really a circle for the cow eating here, eating there? And at the end, it's a perfect circle. So mathematics is used much more than most people think. It is obviously it's in every science, but it's in architecture, it's also in art. And you think of great artists, they were thinking about this golden mean and designing their tableaus. And so mathematics is there. And mathematics will be, less and less about counting. I don't know. You are much younger than I was, but I am. But when I grew up, and you went to the supermarket, and you bought, say, ham, then, in France, you would usually give 3 tranches de jambon. So you just give me 3 slices. But of course, these slices are not the same. So after that, they will measure it, weigh it. And then there is some price that it's maybe 100 grams of ham is costing, I don't know, 3 francs, those days francs, but maybe it's €1.50. And then you bought 200 grams, it's very easy, it is then €3. But it will never be 200, it will be 215 or 213 or 198. And so in my days, then the shopkeeper would take a piece of paper and make the multiplication. And they hardly ever made it. The answer was not right. In general, it was favorable to them.
Yeah, just approximately, it's going to be this much. And
yeah. But when I was already 6 years old, and my mother often sent me to the supermarket to buy things, and I was computing things in my head, and I told them, no, it's not wrong. It's wrong. Do it once again. So I was not very... They didn't like me very much, but I had to do it after all, and it turned out that this is the right answer. So I'm just saying it because in the old days, mathematics was most of all computing, calculating.
Just in daily life. How much does this cost? How much does this measure? How do I fit this table into this corner?
Yeah, but now these things can be done by a computer. And in all this, you go to the stores, then they just there's a barcode, and it reads the barcode, and it's automatically it adds up, and you can even put in multiplication that the same product 13 times, and you just push the 13 and it takes the multiplication, and you don't even have to compute how much I have to give back to the customer, because you put in the money and automatically the change comes back. But it doesn't mean that mathematics has disappeared. Mathematics is getting more and more important because, and this is the most important thing in life, in a sense, we have to decide what is true and what is not. And that's where mathematics comes in, that you have to decide that someone called you and said that your uncle is now gravely ill and you have to send him now $100 and within 5 minutes, and otherwise he will die. And so is it possible, is it plausible that this is really the situation? And but this is just one example. But in general, you can read newspapers, you can read the internet lots of internets if you want it, lot of things written on it, and you have to decide whether it is correct or not correct or partly correct, and you have to make your decisions according to. And they are trying to cheat you all the time. All the time. I don't know whether you are traveling or not, but if you are traveling, then there are some of these travel companies, and it's in the early days of the internet, if you would put in, I don't know, New Otani Hotel, Osaka, and then you would get to the site of the New Otani Hotel, and you can. But now it's you put in New Otani Hotel, Osaka, and then you will get 3-4 sites. I don't want to say the names, but
not the one you're looking for.
And then they will propose you straight away another hotel that this hotel is, And then they would, all the time it would come out that it's 78 people looking at this site right now, which I'm sure is completely, I mean, this looks, for me at least, it is unlikely, highly unlikely. I'm judging from the number of people who are staying at a hotel at each particular day. And they say that this price has been reduced 35%. And 35% from what? You never saw the price of the hotel because they don't let you. It's very difficult to get to the hotel site. You try it twice, 3 times, and it would still bring you to some other site which is somehow investing on the internet in a good way, and so it's getting out on top. No matter what you are looking for, it's coming Amazon, and you can buy it on Amazon, whether you like it or not.
So for you, the mathematics and understanding the numbers always brings you back to the truth, and kind of
I don't say that I can get the truth, because for that you would need probably more information and a lot of time, but at least to feel that this is fishy, and you have to think it twice, and you have to somehow try it somewhere else, and the internet knows much more about you than what you think. If you are on your own site, you are buying airplane tickets, and last time you paid say 250,000 yen, then your internet is very likely will not give you any really cheap tickets. Then you can ask someone, some friend or your secretary in my case, and because she doesn't travel much, and she would look at her smartphone and she will get a cheaper price, because the internet knows that this guy has the money, this guy paid so much. So for this guy, even if you give it for 220,000, most likely he will buy it. So
all these real life problems, in a way, when people kind of look at them, could get them interested in mathematics.
Well, if there was someone explaining that to them, but it's...
So in your case, you continued doing your research at the university here, and you kind of
not at the university.
Not at the university.
So I am not employed, and I'm very happy about that. I mean, very proud, not happy. I'm very proud about that. It's, after all, when I left Hungary, many people go to the West because they want to be successful, want to make money, want to be rich. But I was never in that group. I thought that I'm going to France because I want to be free. In Hungary, I had enough to eat. My parents were doctors. They kept giving me money, and not that much money, but enough that I didn't have to look all the time that how much is this steak or how much is this salad, and I could pay it. So I didn't want to be rich. It was not my goal. My goal was to become free, to be a free person. And that's what our image of the West was. What wonderful. These are really free countries. And they were free, much freer than Hungary, that you could jump on an airplane and go wherever you want. You had longer vacations, especially in France and Germany or the Scandinavian countries. And you could say that this government is stupid, or I don't like this party, and you didn't risk being taken to the police station or losing your job. So they were free, but it's...
But Japan was different.
Well, Japan was not so free for Japanese. That's how I felt. It was free for me. As a foreigner, you could even cross when the lights were red, and jaywalking, and the policeman that would maybe tell you that it's red. Oh, sorry. But you would never pay a fine for that. But that's not a good thing. I'm not proposing people to do that. But in general, unfortunately, the Japanese people, they were working in Japanese companies, which have their unwritten rules. That usually you eat lunch together with your buddies from the company. And after especially those days when I came to Japan, the Japanese economy was booming. And so everyone was working very long hours. These days they say it buraku kigyo. So, but those days it was just the average
company.
Like and so many people I knew who were working for banks and so on, and they would go to the bank on Sundays. No customers, but they have to get there and they do this.
What about the universities? Because you were originally a professor and researcher.
Yes, and the universities, like at Tokyo University, since it was a government-run university, they were public servants. So they basically could not go abroad for a private trip.
Even on their holidays?
Holidays? Who had holidays? I mean, they don't have holidays. Holidays is
but hypothetically, if they had,
hypothetically. So it was in the 80s. It was difficult. I think it was basically impossible. And you could go, of course, some official trip but participate at some international conference, and that I did. But they pretty often they went to the office on Sundays, but Saturdays for sure, and they would stay long hours. And but
it's not something that you wanted.
No, definitely not.
How did you find a way into your freedom in a way to kind of manage to pursue your work, pursue your research, and keep your independence throughout all these years?
Well, just by not taking up jobs. So I got a few offers, maybe 6 or 7 universities in total, which offered me some professorship sometimes in mathematics, sometimes in some other field. And I refused all. So I saw that, do I really need that? Will that change my life so much if I earn twice as much money? And I decided, no, I don't have to worry about it. I succeeded somehow buying some small piece of land in Nijutsubo. So it's 60 square meters, basically in Tokyo, and it was already after the bubble, and the price went down. Maybe it was 1/6 of the price in the bubble, which I could somehow afford, and would have a small house there.
And that was enough for you. And so since then, you've been basically a freelance mathematician, just pursuing the research you liked. What are you working on right now? Is there something that, without much knowledge of mathematics, you can explain to someone, or is it something that is kind of already?
I guess it's difficult to explain, but the process I can explain. It is today's Japan. It's difficult to admit, but it's my 2 best collaborators. One is Russian from Moscow, and the other is from Beijing, so from China. And the first one, this Russian guy, is Andrei, and I got into contact with him. And those days, Russia was still kind of okay, I guess. It was 15 years ago. I was invited by a friend of mine to a university in Switzerland. And he was there as a PhD student. And I gave a lecture series for 1 week. And he was the one who was really listening most and kept taking photos of the blackboard and so on. And after that, he came up to me with some problem, and then we solved it together. And ever since, so we have written many joint papers, and we keep doing it. And it's a kind of a similar story with my best Chinese collaborator too. So what is wonderful is that we have the internet, and so I am writing, and I still like to, like even on this Shinkansen here, I was writing some mathematical paper, write it by hand, and then you just take a picture and I can send it to them, and then they will read it, and then they are young and they are much better at writing on the computer, so they will, with all the mathematical symbols, And that's how we write papers. But usually every day or every other day we exchange emails, and that's how the whole thing progresses. So it's possible to live in Japan and work with people who are not in Japan.
Is it easy to do academic work without a university affiliation and to kind of publish your papers and book and research?
Yeah, it is definitely possible. But I do have an affiliation, but not with the Japanese university. I got an affiliation with the Hungarian Academy of Science because I was elected as a member of the Hungarian Academy of Science back in 1998. So, and they are happy that I use that affiliation.
Mm-hmm.
And my great teacher, whom you mentioned in your text, is Paul Erdős. He was one of the one of the best-known mathematicians in the 20th century. He was writing all his life. He was writing papers, just writing Hungarian Academy of Sciences. And he was not living in Hungary. He went to Hungary maybe twice a year for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And he was traveling around. And he was kind of my idol at the beginning, that I wanted to be someone like him because I just found him wonderful. He was a person who didn't have a bank account.
He didn't have a bank account?
Yes,
wow.
He didn't have a bank account. He went somewhere, gave some lecture, and then he got maybe $100 for it, and they paid for his ticket. And then he went to the next place, and that's the same. But
it's quite a way of life.
And he had no house, never owned a car, and no family. His life was completely for mathematics, and it was going from one university to the next one, or to a research institute, and one country to the other, and traveling around, and he was really free because he didn't care about. He didn't want to become rich. He didn't want to have a job or get a grant. And he was writing his papers with all the friends, and he had many, many friends around the world who were happy to put him up for a few days and talk about mathematics, and then we just would go on and on and on. And so it was really nice. And it was before the internet. So he was someone who was kind of, instead of the internet, what should I say, replacing the non-existent internet, is that he was talking to people in Japan and hearing some nice problems, and the next he went to, say, United States and then met American mathematicians, and he would tell them that there's this Japanese mathematician, he has this idea, and what do you think? And then from America, he would go next to France and then tell to French mathematicians what he heard in the US. Meeting him, you would know what are the new problems and what are the new results, and it would influence your research.
Did you get to collaborate with a lot of Japanese mathematicians? Are there any specific problems that they are trying to solve here in Japan that are maybe more for focus than elsewhere in the world?
Well, I did collaborate with some Japanese mathematicians, but mostly unfortunately, the two of my best collaborators, they are both from Okinawa, and they are pretty too old now, It's 80s, mid 80s, and kind of stopped working. So it's a sad thing. But there are wonderful mathematicians in Japan, and also I collaborated a lot with Professor Hironaka, who got the Fields Medal, which is the biggest mathematical prize, kind of mathematical Nobel Prize. But he's 94, so now he cannot talk about mathematics anymore.
What was it like to collaborate with them? Do you feel like collaborating with Japanese mathematicians had like a different aspect, different methodologies, different approaches to solving problems, or is it universally similar?
I would say it is universally, especially in his case. He got his PhD at Kyoto University, but he went to Harvard. And And he was a professor at Harvard for more than 20 years before returning to Japan. So it's most mathematicians, and with successful mathematicians even more, they are really truly international in that sense, that it doesn't matter for them that the other person is, what is the nationality or color of the other person.
There's another person I think that influenced you a lot, Ronald Graham. I think.
Yes, that was really. I talk about him in my lectures, and it's and why? Because he was the one who taught me juggling. So I must say that I went to the university, and I told you that in Hungary, people didn't appreciate mathematics much. On the trains, they would kind of laugh at me.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was 20 years old, and that was the first time I participated in an international mathematical conference, actually. I participated in this conference not because I had some wonderful work and I could make a presentation. No, it was that I had a friend who was 3 years older and who was a good mathematician already at that time. And he was one of the organizers of this big conference in Hungary, which actually was for the 6 years anniversary of 6 years birthday of Paul Erdős. So this was a conference held in Hungary, and they invited many of his friends from various parts of the world, great mathematicians I'd never met, but I have read their work already during my studies, or I heard of them. And those days in Hungary, not many people could speak languages. And my friend knew, I mean, we were very good friends, he knew that those days I spoke almost perfect German and very good Russian and also fluent English. So he asked me that whether I could help with the conference. There will be all these people coming. And
as a translator?
So basically, not even as a translator, to go to the airport, to pick up these people.
Oh, okay.
And then bring them to their hotel, help them fill in all these forms, or later take them to the train station when we went to the place where the mathematical meeting was held. So all kind of this kind of translator life type of thing, or tour guide type of thing. And since he was one of my best friends, so there was no reason I would say no. And of course, I didn't get a penny for it, but I got much more because I got to meet these people and then spend time with them in this taxi or in the subway and on the train and talk to them and learn about. And so one of these people was Ron Graham. But I remember I went to meet him at the airport, and I took him to his hotel, and then the next day I took him to this train station and put him on a train, and I had to put someone else. We didn't get to the same train, but at least I talked to him a little bit. But was not so much that he wanted to. But when we got to the hotel, kind of, it was clear that he just wants to go to his room and
take a rest. Oh, into mathematics.
No, and prepare for his lecture and so on. But then at this meeting, which was in June, and it's the same in Germany, maybe in a sense even more, that in June the days are very long. It doesn't get dark until 8 or 9, And so the mathematical conference, that basically everything finished at 5 o'clock. And then people were there's a lake in Hungary, and people were at the lakeside, and some were taking a bath and talking. And then I went down there too, and then I saw that there is this Ron Graham, and he was doing a handstand on a bridge, on the railing of the bridge, not so far high, maybe 8 meters tall from the ground. But even if you fall down, it's
very
clear
steep.
That it will hurt. You will break your bones if you don't die. And it was really amazing for me. And I was very good at doing handstands, but I wouldn't dare to do a handstand on a railing. I would think of what if I fall. And then this bridge was going to some artificial small island of the hotel where you could swim, but there was grass, and there he was teaching people or showing people juggling, And normally I wouldn't dare to go up to someone, especially to an unknown person, and ask him something. But since I took him to his hotel and since I took him also to the railway station, I gathered courage and I went up to him and then asked him that, sorry, could you teach me also? And that's how my juggling career started, He taught me how to juggle with 3 balls. And it somehow, ping, it rang the chord for me. I felt that this is something that I could do for people who don't like mathematics. So just to get contact with ordinary people, talk with people who would become friends with some unknown people.
So you started doing a lot of street performances, also across Japan, juggling and more.
Well, of course, it was a lot of exercise. I mean, trying to learn new things and newer things, but then I decided I want to do street performance. Actually, there was one German guy who influenced me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I went to Shinjuku. I'm sure you know Shinjuku. Yeah. And those days, even on Saturday afternoon in Shinjuku, there was a Hokosha Tengoku, a pedestrian zone, which is normal weekdays there were cars, but on Saturday afternoon there were no cars, and there were some people doing various performances, and I saw that guy, and later I talked to him, so I understood he was German, and he was doing all kind of juggling, and he was very good, but I felt that I'm not any worse. That many of the things he could do, I could do myself too, and somehow there was all these people around, and I felt it would be so much better if I was not one of these people around, but be in the center of the circle. So that's kind of, and I decided that I want to do street performance. Before that, I was doing juggling, and I learned a lot of tricks, but I did a few shows, but only sometimes at mathematical conferences they asked me that on the banquet, could you do some tricks for us? But everyone knew already me, and so it was not very different. I believe that street performance that really changed my life, a whole way of thinking.
How so?
Well, I was kind of most mathematicians are to some extent autistic people. I mean, they find it hard to start a conversation with someone, or prefer to be on their own and just think about. They can walk on the street without noticing some friend is going by, because it's just so deep in their thoughts in mathematics. And so I was kind of that. But when you are on the street, then you have to be very attentive. Look at the people, look at their reaction. You don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
Because if they find it uninteresting, they will just go. So you have to keep kind of this audience and keep them together and put an atmosphere. And I learned that it took me some time, that it's more important what I tell, how I talk, than what I do. Because it's somehow by talking or somehow telling good jokes, people will laugh. And that is, I really think that's when I succeed. Just people applauding, yeah, that's okay. But it's when people laugh, that's when they are the happiest. So if you somehow can make them laugh, make them smile, that's when you succeed. And it took years until I
in Japan, I feel like there's a particular appreciation for street performance. We often see people setting up to sing and do some kind of events, and usually people gather around and they film and they kind of clap and they engage. Do you have any particular fond memories of certain performances that kind of really stuck with you?
I don't know. You might have this impression, but I don't think that Japan is very particular in that way. It is particular that there are more people. If you think about, especially if you talk about Germany, of course now you have Berlin, which was reunited, but before it was not like that. And then you had many cities which had something around 1 million people. Maybe München was a little more, but it's usually between 1 million and 2 million, or pretty often around 500,000. Yeah. And this was very good. It was very good for living because it was not too big. It was big enough already that you were living in a big city and you had a nice experience for that. But in Japan, there are so many people, and especially these pedestrian zones, where there are so many people going around. So if you do anything which is a little bit interesting, then people will be there. But if you do a performance in China, people will gather for sure. Of course, much more often than in Japan, the police will come and say some not so nice words to you. Yeah. But in many of these Asian countries where there are now so many people living, so it's not so difficult. And what I found even more exciting, that I went to Madagascar, for example, and I would really say that just on a regular road, I just started to do some juggling, and I don't know from where, but in 5 minutes there were more than 50 kids standing around me.
Wow!
Because they have so many children, and they have not much to do. Yes, it's true that in Japan, especially if people who are doing music, and other people know that this person is going to perform here tomorrow too, and so they will come and some will take videos and so on. But I think that there are many places where wherever there are lots of people, then can interest only 1% of them, then still you will have
a lot of substantial people. Crowd.
Yeah.
Any of those performances that for you were particularly important, moving?
Yeah, it's in a sense the funniest. If I might say funniest, I can say funny now after so many years, is that you go to some cities and they say that it's a dangerous city and so on, and there are people being killed. I remember I went to Cape Town and I was sitting on the airplane from Johannesburg, Joburg to Cape Town, and this was 25 years ago, so there were still newspapers. They gave you a newspaper, and you read the newspaper, and the newspaper was writing that on Cape Town, on waterfront, so it's a nice place just on the sea. Of course, lots of big shopping center, shopping mall, kind of type of thing. And there 5 people were killed there yesterday. And so it's 2 gangs of drug dealers. They were fighting, and in their fighting, 5 people were killed. So I thought it would be a good place to juggle.
Alleviate the mood a little bit, make people forget about
Oh, no, people don't care. I mean, these drug dealers, they kill each other. So that's what I was thinking about myself, that it is not that they are going there and kill the average person on the street. Then whom can they sell the drugs to? So no, it is just for their who says here and who says there. So the territorial battles. And that's what happened. I went there and I juggled, and it was just great. It was people gathered, and I felt happy that it didn't look dangerous at all. And why would they kill me? what can they get through that? And it worked out, and I met a very nice guy from South Africa who was, he's a local person, but he was from Joburg actually.
Mm-hmm.
And so it turned out that he's doing mostly stilts, walking on this.
Yes, very high stilts, yeah.
Yeah, and he was tall already without stilts, but on stilts he looked like a giant. And so I went back to Joburg and I met him, and he took me, and he liked to go to the slums and teaching to the young kids in the slums how to juggle, hoping that through that they will do something better than become a member of these drug gangs, And that rang a chord. And after that, I had a student from Tokyo University with whom we were traveling to many countries, but in particular, we went to South America together and also to Africa, several countries in so-called Black Africa. And there we juggled in various places, like we went to juggle. And one of the things I'm most proud of is that in Bolivia, we went to and juggled in a famous prison.
That's a unique place to go and juggle.
Yeah, isn't it? And it was the thing is that those days people would have the Lonely Planet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you have seen.
I had some. I still probably have some laying around my parents' house. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a Lonely Planet, and it was explaining about La Paz, the capital of Bogota, and they writing about the San Francisco prison, that what a nice place, and you can pay some money and you can go and visit the prison. But then it was written in small letters downstairs that apparently starting from this year, they stopped admitting people to this prison. I thought that, okay, I want to go there. So what I did, that was a nice strategy which eventually worked, is that I took pictures with me to Bolivia of me juggling in, for example, in a hospital for young children with cancer. For them, I can't help them with their cancer, unfortunately, but at least I can help them to have a nice afternoon. Mm-hmm. Or in a refugee camp in Somalia, places like that, or orphanages. And so I had these pictures, and I went to the prison. And I want to get to meet the person responsible. And I couldn't get to the top of the prison, but I met someone not so relatively close to that, and I took an hour and waiting and so on. And eventually he told me that I'm very sorry, but we cannot do it without the authorization. Of what I said, I said that I want to go and give a nice juggling show for the prisoners. And then I told me that they cannot do it without the authorization of the Ministry of Justice.
Okay. So all the way to the top.
Yeah, so I took a taxi with my Japanese student, and we went to the Ministry of Justice. I must say we were already 3 weeks in South America, so I spoke Spanish really fluently. I learned it before, so I just refreshed it. Mm-hmm. And so I went to the Ministry of Justice, and eventually I got to somehow
talk to someone in charge.
Yeah. And then that was a lady, and she told me that, this is nonsense. They are authorized. They can decide it for themselves. Then I told her that, so would you please just make a phone call and tell them that you can authorize it.
And she did?
And she did. She did a phone call, and she told it. And then we went back to the prison, and the prison they got the phone call, so they couldn't say the same thing before. So they said that it's just wait 10 minutes, and then I got to meet the what should I call it? The
head of the prison.
Head of the prison, yeah. But he was an army person, he was big and strong and with all kind of decorations.
And you had very colorful outfit with things to juggle, and you're like...
No, I didn't have the juggling outfit, but I had the pictures and pictures I saw before already, showed before to the people in the prison and also in the justice department. And then he said that, okay, so can you make 2 shows? I said, yes, sure. So there will be, because the prison was divided into 2 places, which I will tell you. And they said, okay, then be here at 7:30 tomorrow morning. That was about, and maybe we shook hands and said that, and that's what. Thank you very much, and I will be here, no doubt. And so what happened is that prison had two parts, and one part was. It was very interesting. I could talk about it for an hour, but I don't want to lose so much time on it. But so one part was kind of the serious prisoners who killed someone. Usually they were in a more severe. So
the high security kind of section of the prison,
lower security section, and then we did 2 shows, but I learned so much, and it's these people, and it was very special, and it's because, for example, I spoke to some guy who was a murderer, and he was living in the prison, and that was the special thing about the prison, with his son. His son who was going to school.
And so the son went to school outside prison and kind of came back to
Came back, and after he played with his friends and so on, but he was staying with his father in the prison, and the father was teaching him mathematics and so on, or literature, or whatever he could.
Wow.
Which is a very good thing. I mean, if the son stayed in the outside, he could only become a drug dealer or something like that. He didn't have a wife. I mean, they were divorced, and so it was just he was caring for his son, and so there would be his son. No one cares for the son. For the son, it was what? He's staying with his father. It doesn't matter that he's staying in that room and he can eat.
That's quite a way to grow up, I imagine.
Yeah, but still, it is still better than just be a street child. Much better. Even if he's a murderer, he like a tiger likes its cubs. Even the tigers kill many other animals. So it's and many such things. So it's through juggling, I could meet many ordinary people.
Break the ice, open up people, strike conversation with strangers all over the world. In that instance, was a student from Tokyo University with whom you eventually went back to Tokyo, a place where you've now been living for nearly 40 years.
Yeah.
You said at the beginning of our conversation, you kind of, shortly after you settled here, you wrote and published this book about your life.
Yeah.
If you had to write this book again today with these additional 40 years, and you would look back about your life here in Japan, what would be some of the main chapters and some of the key things you wanted to put in there?
I mean, there are many things I learned from the Japanese, and it's still the same. And if you live in Japan, Toby, I'm sure you understand it, that Japanese usually do not argue. They do not kenka hiratte. They don't like to fight, and not even with words. And it's since I like to argue, that's kind of mathematicians. So they can argue about small points, And Japanese didn't argue. So at the beginning, I felt it kind of strange or boring that you can tell them something, and I said, so that's and then they change the topic. They have a different opinion. They don't want to. No, I don't agree. You are stupid. It's different. They would just change the topic. But with my 40 years experience in and inside Japan, I feel that they are right. Usually, you can't change people so much. In a sense, it is a sad conclusion that you cannot really change people. But it's normally no. You can. You believe that you are telling them, and then they look at, oh, okay. But do they really change? I mean, imagine that since you are in Osaka, that there is someone who is a great fan of Hanshin Tigers, and get together with someone, not necessarily from Tokyo, who likes the Giants in Tokyo, Yomiuri Giants. And even if they argue for 3 hours, 4 hours, 3 days, 2 months, and one wants to convince that, the Hanshin Tigers, that's a much more important, much better team. No, the Giants is better. And I don't think they will change.
No, probably never.
If someone was for Hamburger SV, SV, and the other for Bayern München, and they both used to be very good now. The Hamburg is not so good anymore, but they are for that, and they will not change. So it's just be more tolerant. Japan has taught me to be more tolerant. There are people who are not good at mathematics, no matter what. They are still interesting people, funny people. They are honest people, hardworking people. They are not good at mathematics. Okay, some people are good at languages. Some people are very skillful at doing things. We are all different. And somehow to accept people as they are. It's so about communication I learned a lot, which I think is one of the most important things. I told you one important thing is mathematics, in order not to be cheated too much. And the other thing is communication. And even with the internet, it's not just you writing emails or SMSs to various people. It is to eye to eye, heart to heart communication, to get better at communicating to people. That's what I learned through being in Japan, and through that starting to be connected to the average people on the street, and then extrapolating it and trying to do the same thing in the world. And talk to people in the world.
Be more tolerant and communicate.
Lessons and how to communicate, and that's not so easy, and it's not necessarily your English skills that will help you. It is what is the most important is to be truly interested in the other person, because people can feel it, that you are just there, you want to practice your English and asking them questions and don't even too much interested in the answers. Yeah. But if you can make the other person feel that you are really interested in him or her, then usually you can get a better relationship, and you can learn so much from people. It is, I'm not against mass media. I'm not against that they are reading the news, but that's only the surface of the story. That even that there is some things bad happens, usually only when bad things happens, when average people get into the news. But then next day something even worse happens, and then the news
it's gone.
It's gone.
24 hours, always something new, always something new distractions too.
But you would like to know, that's where maybe mathematics is having an influence on me, that you would like to know someone deeper, not just that, say something happened, had an accident, or someone murdered someone, but why? What happened? What did he think?
What is the context of this happening?
Yeah, and for that you have to get closer to people. So people are really, I do believe, I like animals very much. I personally like fishing, angling. I think that the most important and most interesting thing in the whole world is human people, other human people who are, in a sense, very close to you, but still very different. And So I think I would put an emphasis on that.
And I think in a way, from our conversation, the way you've lived your life, it's been all about people in the end, mathematics, juggling, but that has only led to connecting you with people from all over the world.
Yeah.
Is this book potentially something you'd like to write, 40 years in Japan, a look back at kind of your experience, your learning?
Of course, I would love to do that, but I don't believe in that project, because nowadays, Japan used to be, I would say, that was the country with the biggest density of bookstores in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Japanese people were reading a lot. You sat on the subway and 8 people out of 10 were reading a book, and the remaining 2 were reading a newspaper. And now everyone is, of course, watching his or her smartphone.
Yeah.
So it's changed. So it is very difficult now to publish books. And if you want book to sell, then you have to write that how to buy stocks to make money, or how to win on the horse races.
Self-development books, self-help books.
That's what people really would like to buy. So it is, and that's not what I would like to write. So it's.
We talked about many topics today.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's important for you to know a person on a deeper level, to ask more questions, spend time with them. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about today that you would like to share that is important to you?
Kind of my philosophy of life is keep your heart open. You should always live with your heart open. So you should be always ready to meet new people. Every morning you should hope that today will be a better day, that something interesting, something funny will happen. And I believe that we are just going around, and if we are too busy, then we just don't notice things.
Mm-hmm.
So if you go a little bit slower and watching, then there might be something. And I'm quite sure that if you go for an hour or 2, then definitely there will be something which you will find interesting, and you will be struck by something, and it's not by the lightning, but by something good. It's and especially if you have a chance to meet a person. There's a very nice Japanese saying which says that "Sode furiao mo tasho no en." So if people who with their kimonos, they walk and you just touch somehow, your kimonos touch, it is an N. So this is happening on purpose.
It's a kind of fate.
Yeah, it's a fate. And it's Tasho means actually, it's a Buddhist word from Buddhism, which means that it was already predetermined in your previous life. So it's something which is really a law that you had to, your kimonos touch because two of you had to meet. I don't tell you what to believe in Buddhism. I don't believe in any religion, but I still believe in this proverb. So if you met someone, then you should try. Maybe there is maybe it was really fate that you met. And you should strike up a conversation. And if you feel that it's not that, then you can say that, oh, sorry, I have to go. My Shinkansen is leaving.
My Shinkansen is leaving.
But maybe you will get something. And it's maybe if one out of 10 times, and you can try and talk. And that is the last thing. When you try and talk to someone, it can happen with quite high probability that the other person won't be so happy about it, won't be so receptive.
Maybe their Shinkansen is leaving.
Yeah. So you should not be upset by it all. You shouldn't consider it that this is because you are not attractive or you are not nice. It's just, in Japanese, it's sonoshito sonoshito tsugo. So that person is having his reasons, which are not clear to you. It's not because of you. It's because that person has his own problems or something, and it's up to him. And you say that, I'm sorry, I didn't want to disturb you, and you just go. And then you try with someone else. And eventually you will meet some nice people with whom you can talk about all kinds of things and learn a lot of things, and through that learn things about yourself, and which can also influence your life. But you should always be open.
Keep your heart open.
Yeah.
Peter Frankl, I think this is a beautiful way to end our conversation. It was fascinating. I would love to hear your many more stories, so maybe we'll have to invite you back for a second conversation.
In a year or two, yes.
Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for asking me.
Thank you,
everyone.
Pleasure. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching this episode. This was Unpacking Japan, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye. What? So many stories. I didn't even ask about Japan. Thank you for sticking with us all the way till the end. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already, consider subscribing to the podcast. It helps us improve the show and bring you more in-depth conversations from Japan. Take care and see you next time.